So part of me knew that this day would come. Genuinely, we all knew that someday this would happen. But now that we've actually reached that day, it's almost like a dream. It's almost like surreal. So, multiple news outlets, not just Discussing Film, but Discussing Film is the first group that I saw talk about it, have reported that Kathleen Kennedy plans on retiring by the end of this year. So she will be stepping down as the president of Lucasfilm. This is big news. Needless to say, there are a lot of people, dare I say, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions. It really seems to be that big because of how big Star Wars has become throughout the years, that have wanted her to step down and have awaited this day. No disrespect to Kathleen Kennedy on a personal level. I'm sure she's a nice lady and kind. I'm sure. But her leadership at Lucasfilm has been as flaccid as an 80-year-old man without Cialis in his pocket. She is not very good at preserving the legacy of Star Wars, even though she promised George she would. She has constantly allowed personal politics and things of that nature to consume Star Wars more than just telling good stories. She's had multiple fallings out with different directors. They've had tons of projects that they announced that they canceled. And I'm not saying she's the only one at fault. I think a lot of people on this platform, because let me tell you, the only entity to make more money from Kathleen Kennedy than Disney has been YouTubers. Because if you look at how many Kathleen Kennedy hate videos are on YouTube, it's insane. There are some YouTube channels that have dozens upon hundreds of videos trashing this woman. Specifically because of what she did to Star Wars. Because she allowed the wrong people to do the wrong things. Now, she's not the only one to blame. Rian Johnson was the one that wrote and directed The Last Jedi. She let him, but he was the one that came up with all those ideas the fans rejected. J.J. Abrams did a bad job with The Rise of Skywalker, and that's an understatement. And after that, we actually had good decisions made by Kathy Kennedy. She's the one that gave Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni the green light to do the Mandalorian. Mandalorian is my series on Geekdom 101. The Mandalorian. Seasons 1 and 2 were great. Season 3, not so much. But Boba Fett, not so great. But Ahsoka was fine. And some of the TV projects were fine. I guess some were okay. Rogue One, I think, turned out pretty good. But a lot of the stuff just was a mess. Now, here's the question. Here's the real question that people need to start asking themselves. So she'll be done by the end of the year. Clearly that Rey movie is not coming out this year. So either they're going to shoot it and then put it out next year and it already is going to be in the can, or it's possible that whoever replaces her could just cancel it before it even gets started. That's the real question. Now that we know she's leaving, who's going to replace her? And whomever it is that person going to have the fandom's best interest at heart? And that's not to eliminate diversity or inclusivity or any of that stuff. It's to tell great stories for everyone. For straight people, for gay people, for whites, for blacks, for Hispanics. To just tell good Star Wars stories. Because Star Wars has always appealed to everyone. Asian cultures know about Star Wars. It's huge in Japan. Like, Star Wars is universal. Because the stories make sense for all generations and for all cultures. And most importantly, we need somebody who actually respects And if they don't have an understanding of Star Wars, they hire somebody who does, like Filoni, for example. Now, some have said that Filoni was also responsible for the trash that was The Acolyte. And I'm sure, this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to be fair here. I don't think Kennedy is the only one to blame for all this. But this is the moment that a lot of people have wanted. And ultimately, you know what? She's already a wealthy lady. She has been the producer of some of the greatest movies ever, going back to the 80s. So she has, her career before Star Wars was very solid. But she showed that even if she might be a great producer, that doesn't mean that she's great at being the leader of Star Wars. You know what I mean? Because her leadership skills just weren't great. Losing directors, but who is going to replace her? And is the person that replaces her going to have the same values as her? Are they going to have the same affinity for Star Wars as her? Because I don't think she really understood Star Wars. I really don't. I think if she did, things would have turned out differently. I don't think she really understood it. And under her watch, whether you blame her or not, but under her watch, Star Wars performed worse than it ever had in the history of its entire franchise. And there were more angry fans than ever before. So, will this person be able to unite the fandom? And here's the question. Here's what I want you to answer in the comments. Do you think it's too late? Do you think that enough damage has been done to Star Wars that no matter who takes up the role of president of Lucasfilm, it's already screwed? They might be able to do some good projects, don't get me wrong, but as far as Star Wars being a top 5 massive franchise, it might get left in the dust still. What do you think? Do you actually think that there is hope? I hate to use that word because it seems almost like too goofy. It seems almost too, I don't know, like we're almost like little kids, you know what I mean? But ultimately, this is just a fictional franchise, but it's meant a lot to a lot of people. If it didn't, people wouldn't be so emotional about it. So, can the person salvage what's left? Can they salvage what is left of Star Wars under Kathleen Kennedy when she is gone? Is the person going to come in and fire a bunch of people, bring in a new team? These are all questions that I'm sure we're going to find out within the next year. But, man, I cannot believe it's actually happening. I'm sure Doomcock will probably claim that I've been saying this since 2020. You know how it is. He's going to fucking take credit for it, even though he was wrong then. It was made up bullshit. You know, eventually she was going to retire because guess what? Human beings are mortal and we can't live forever or work forever. It just happens to be now. And I don't think it has anything to do with YouTube. I think it's because she's already made enough money. And you know what? Maybe she did get tired. Maybe the South Park skit maybe did get to her. You don't know. We don't know. We don't know. The truth is, a lot of these celebrities and producers pretend like it doesn't affect them. Deep down inside it does. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.